Welcome back to another episode of Time Out with the Sports Doctor podcast. Thank you for joining me for another week. I know this is a very busy time of the year. We just officially passed Thanksgiving and Christmas is looming a couple of weeks away. So it's a time of joy for many. This can be a very difficult time for many, especially if you've lost loved ones or, if you're under financial constraints and you can't do everything that you want to do, or you might have to work and you want to be off to travel. So it's not always a happy time of the year. So I do recognize that it can be a stressful time for many people. The last couple of weeks, we've talked about mindset to overcome obstacles as well as to build wealth. And I think closely tied to both of those is the role of your family in building wealth as well as just living your life to the fullest. And for many people, for everyone, we're shaped by our families, whether it's the lack thereof in some situations or from good family upbringing. But I think that we're all products of our environment. And many times you don't even know how you're being positively or negatively affected by your surroundings, but it does play a role. So I'm very grateful for family. And I think that's one thing with having gratitude is really acknowledging people who are very important to you. So I want to acknowledge someone who has been very important to me my whole life, number one, but also as far as this podcast goes. So if you've listened to any episodes, you've heard me talk about Big Daddy multiple times. So Charlie Burgess, who's no longer with us, this will be our first holiday season without him, with Christmas coming up. But I want to talk about his wife, Delia Burgess, Big Mama, who you have not heard as much about. But they were married for over 75 years. And earlier this year, just to be quite honest, I was ready to quit. I was ready to quit this podcast. I thought maybe I'd overrun my time. Life has many different changes with the new job, with raising teenagers, with all the many things that we have going on in life. And I thought that maybe it's my time to walk away from the podcast. So I did a lot of soul searching and we made some changes, but I kept going. And one of my main reasons why I kept going was the messages that I kept getting from my grandmother, who I think now more than ever, this podcast was important to her. Because when I would speak about family legacy, when I would speak about the things that I had to overcome, it brought her joy. And she would mention that what I was doing was carrying on the torch for my grandfather, who was a minister, who was a social activist, who was a public speaker. So that gave me even more reason to go. So we never know. I say that because we never know the things that we deem as small, everyday actions, how they're impacting other people. We never know who's listening or who's watching, and who we're positively impacting their lives. You could save people by sharing your story. And that was one reason why I knew that I needed to continue to do this. There's other reasons, but that's one of the main reasons. So I want to say thank you, Big Mama, for that. I love you. Your strength that you've demonstrated, overcoming your own medical issues and overcoming obstacles from as a child growing up to a family of indentured servants, to escaping for freedom and living your life to glorify our Heavenly Father, number one, but also to help many people. I know for a fact that you prayed me through many exams over this time and many things, obstacles that I didn't even know existed. I was able to overcome them because of your prayer and because of your support. So now I continue to push on. I continue to do this work because I know that it, number one, brings you joy, but it also is part of the family legacy building, which is very important because so much of our history is not known, but verbal history is very important. And I know one day my kids know now, they listen now, they hear me interviewing people, they hear me talking about these episodes, and they've learned so much that I learned as an adult, they've learned as children simply because of what I'm doing here on this podcast. So that's a segue to what we're going to talk about today. Is really family legacy and importance of involving your children and incorporating your career with your family. Because many times with the work that we do as busy professionals, it's easy to overlook your role as a parent. It's easy to overlook your role as a part of a bigger community, to be honest, whether it's your immediate family or just your support group family. But they both play very important roles. So in this episode, you'll hear from previous guests in a compilation style episode where we'll be talking about some of the importance of family legacy, as well as overcoming obstacles and the mindset that's important to do that. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy this episode. Be blessed and don't be too stressed during this holiday season.
Even through adversity, you can still be the best. So even through the adversity, I'm the only one that has a newborn at home, but yet I'm the chief. Because they see something in me that I don't even see. They know that I can handle that responsibility, that I'm gonna make sure I take care of my co-resident and take care of myself and take care of those responsibilities. You have to believe in yourself. You have to let that whole imposter syndrome, I'm not good enough because I'm not X, Y, and Z, go. And you have to go out here and get it. When he opens these opportunities, you can't expect stuff to fall in your lap. You got to work for it. It comes with having grit, because it's going to be some highs and it's going to be some lows, and you have to be able to push through it. Nothing was ever easy, but it was worthwhile. And so if it's something you want, if you feel like you're called to do greater, to be greater, you have to get the mental toughness to go after it.
Man, just know that the sky is the limit. Right? Like, your only roadblocks are the ones that you create in your mind. Everything starts in your mind, right? Have a positive attitude, surround yourself around positive people, and be ambitious. Be ambitious and don't let anybody tell you no, I
want to be in position to make sure that there's like a baton on the track. If you're the first, second, third leg with a smooth handoff, you keep running. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to make sure I got a smooth handoff to my son, my daughter, and my granddaughter.
For me, I say, I think that's the importance of the reunion, is because we can look back. I mean, of course, Derrick, you and I grew up in the same house, but, we had the benefit of, even though Tony grew up around us for a certain age, and even when he went to the city, he still came back most summers. So
right.
It was like he was still with us. So, I think that part gets lost if you don't come together, because in this time and age where, unlike our mothers and fathers who were all in one area, we're spread out. If you don't have a reunion, like Tony was saying, the sad part is going to be, the tragedy would be that the next generation is not going to know each other the way we had the benefit of knowing each other.
Just the thought of thinking through your parenting goals. Like I told you, Derrick, I wish two things that I wish somebody had told me way earlier. But the thing is, it's never too late. So once you realize it, you start. One is just being purposeful and intentional and not sweating the small stuff. Always asking the question, what's the worst thing that could happen if I allow this to happen? If it has long-term, horrible, negative implications, absolutely, strictly parent on that. But if it's something that has almost no impact on a child's future, there's choice. Let the child, develop wings and grow, so being intentional, purposeful in that, and then integrating your life and your work. That's the other thing that's hard, especially for mothers. I mean, the studies are out there. Mothers do, in many, many households, mothers have 2 or 3 jobs. And one of those is just the home, right? You finish your work at work, and you get home and you have a whole other day to go through, right? Just homework and laundry and dishes and just sports events for the children and all of that. So just finding your team.
When Big Daddy leave out of here, hold your right hand up. Big Daddy wants the bar to be passed from my hand, because I'm gone home to live with the Lord. It's gonna be in your hand. It'll be left up to you to tell your children and your children's children that I got Tulsa in my hand, and I'm gonna encourage you to move on and keep the dream alive of my granddaddy and the Martin Luther King. There's the hope.
My kids know we have, but they don't know what we have. Now my kids are older. I'm having more conversation with my teenagers to kind of let them know about how to handle money, manage it. Everything is an opportunity. I gleaned from my experience off the chance when it shows up. So everything is led by example. So for me, if I always went after the flashy stuff and always kind of talked about or bragged about the name brand this, name brand that, then I'm leading my kid down that path of being exactly what you talked about. I don't do that. What they hear me talk about is going to be about what I actually need and then the things that I want. But if I want something, I'm already explaining to myself that, hey, if I want something, I need to first make sure it's not going to harm my family or hurt my family in any kind of way just because I want it. I think it really starts with what you show. Because if all of a sudden you're all about just the name brand this, you have to be careful. Your kids are going to idolize that, and that's what they're going to want. So whatever you say is going to mean nothing to them because that's what they saw you do. And so that's one of the things I share with my families as it relates to just behaviors. Kids are very smart very early. So just like a 6-monther, 9-monther going into that 12-month, 15-month age, and they can hold up a phone and almost mimic everything you do and unlock phone apps. The thing is, because they're watching everything you do. It wasn't like I had a secret key of nothing. Actually, it was hard as crap, man. That was part of the reason why you guys really didn't hear too much from me, because it was a lot of times where going through medical school, missing certain little key things of little first steps and first words, it humbled me to a point where it was like, hey, I'm doing this. I may not see that end result just yet, but it was a great motivating tool, because when I did get home and I was able to see my kids' faces, it reminded me and reset me.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed me to be able to kind of say, hey, this is where it all means something. And so I look back at that, and it was a lot of jokes you guys gave me. I thought about that. You guys was joking that I got like 10, 12 kids and stuff. But technically, we got blessed with the opportunity to have children. We wanted 4, we got 4. But I look at it, it got me through a lot of tough times as it relates to going through school, making paths for myself while at the school I was attending, and just kind of really staying grounded.
In the bed is not your way to success.
Right.
Sleeping late is not the way to success. So he showed me that you got to get up early and you got to grind, and that's stuck with me, and that's been a life lesson. And no matter what I've gone through, like I've had my setbacks in school and I've had my struggles, but like you said, I never planned to go back. So I never had a safety net. I'll put it that way. It was only going forward. It was plan A. It wasn't plan B or C. So when you put that kind of, your plan is not to go back, it's only go forward, then you're forced to kind of keep moving, and you got to struggle, or you figure it out as you go. But that no matter how much you struggle, it's just putting one foot in front of the other, and you're stepping it out, and you're trying to make it work. And so that's a lesson that I've learned, and it stuck with me, that, you just got to figure it out, but never stop moving forward.